now, you get this ag-linked deposit through different banks. It's backed by the Treasurer of the state. Well, he brought it back with, and I think everybody knows how interest rates have gone up just a little bit, and brought it back for farms to secure operating lines with it. And back in the day, it was a $100,000 limit, and I talked to him about that. I'm like, you need to raise that. It's a little bit different now. And so they moved it up to a $500,000 limit. But it really helped young farmers, everybody getting established. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Treasurer of the State.
All right, thank you.
Well, thank you so very much, Mr. Chairman. I'm off to a great start. I went up on the wrong side of the stage where the stairs weren't, but that's all right. We're going to figure this out. I got to tell you, one of the great champions of our Ohio Gains Initiative was actually this guy that you may have heard of here as a state rep, Rodney Creech. All right, and he happens to be very involved with the farming. Are you clapping for him, Dan? I like this.
I get $50 for it every
Okay, all right. And I'll tell you, we had a round table. We had a couple round tables, and the farmers did. They said, just like the chairman said, they said, you're not planting anything, Robert, for 150 grand or 100 grand this year, right? The price of fertilizer has gone up 3 times. The price of Roundup at the time went from $11 a gallon to $84 a gallon for those of you that aren't farmers. Can you imagine that? That's insane. So, and the anhydrous ammonia, which is derivative of natural gas, also went through the roof, right? All this stuff became really expensive. And so we went to Rodney and others, and we helped pass the Ohio Gains Initiative. And Steve Huffman, I got to tell you, one of the greatest people that I know in the General Assembly. Steve, stand up. You deserve a round of applause as the state senator. And Steve has been great. We worked together. So we passed the Ohio Gains Initiative. And I'll tell you, a lot of the legislators had questions. They said, well, why do we need to do this? The interest rates are at 0%. And we said, well, the interest rates are not always going to be at 0%. And here we are. And this last year, we set a new record for our Ohio AgLink program, $18.7 million saved for the farmers of the state of Ohio. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. Rodney Creech, stand up. This is your doing. Thank you, Rodney. I appreciate it. You did a great job. Now, look, I was in Jefferson County last night with Vivek and our whole ticket, really. Yeah. And, I made the comment. I said, I was thinking about running for governor, and they laughed. I don't appreciate that. So I don't have that reaction. But I'll tell you, I'm running for Secretary of State, and I'm going to do 3 things as your next Secretary of State. First of all, I'm never going to apologize for taking fake people or dead people off the voter rolls of the state of Ohio. Secondly, when I'm Secretary of State, we will only have American citizens voting in American elections in the state of Ohio. And finally, we will never apologize for making people show their government-issued photo ID to vote in the state of Ohio. Donald Trump has just issued a brand new executive order. I don't know that you've seen it. I know Rezabek has because he's the director of elections in Montgomery County. But if you look at it, it's about keeping elections secure and keeping elections fair, and that's what I'm going to do as Secretary of State. I will pledge to you this. Elections are inherently political. I will not be as your Secretary of State because I want you to know that the will of the people is reflected in the voting results. You deserve that as citizens of the state of Ohio. And let me tell you what makes our elections secure is that we never compromise on our processes and our security that I just talked about. What makes them fair is that they're bipartisan. And the first thing I'm going to do as Secretary of State is I'm going to institute a brand new audit. Right now we do an accuracy audit, right, Jeff, after every election. And first of all, I want Jeff Rezabek and our local boards of elections, members, directors, and poll workers, would you please stand up? Because you are the gold standard of election security in the United States of America. And we want to thank you for what you're doing to keep our elections safe. This is not easy, ladies and gentlemen. Not easy. They work 16-hour days on Election Day. It's unbelievable. They do a great job. Now, let me tell you, the reason that our elections are fair, you know why? Because they're bipartisan in nature. You got a Republican and a Democrat that are getting the voting machines out, a Republican and a Democrat that are getting the ballots together. That's why our elections are fair. And the first thing I'm going to do as Secretary of State is we're going to implement a brand new audit. Don't worry, Jeff, it's going to be a piece of cake. after every election, we're going to make sure that the bipartisan chain of custody from your vote, from the time when you cast it at the ballot box to the time when it's counted in the total later on that evening, that chain of custody is never broken so that you know that the will of the people has been done here in the state of Ohio. Second thing I'm going to do is we are going to use all the available data that they currently have on you, 21st century data. They know what you eat, they know what you like to watch, they know how old you are, they know what political affiliation you are, and it's time that we use some of this data that's out there in the private sector to clean the voting rolls in the state of Ohio. And the third thing that Governor Vivek and I are going to work on, me and the Secretary of State's office, him and the Governor's office, is we will once again make civics cool to the young people of the state of Ohio. And like never before, we are going to promote civics education to help our people realize that if they have rights, they need to also have the responsibility to protect them and vote in our elections. Now, when I was thinking about running for governor, I realized that our state is going to lose 675,000 people on our current trajectory by the year 2050. And in the smaller counties like where I'm from in Hancock County, that means that we now have more deaths than we do births in Hancock County. You know where that ends up for Hancock County eventually? It's not good. And the second thing was we were 45th out of 50 states after COVID in terms of our economic growth. And I thought to myself, this is not good enough. We are built for more than this as a state. Right, Jason?
Yes.
By the way, Jason's the head of the Carpenters Union. Stand up. This is great. He's supporting Republicans, and he does a great job, and we appreciate him being here. Thank you, Jason, for your support and your help. And the second piece is we were built for more than this, and we don't have to accept this as our destiny. And when I was considering to run for governor, I wanted to eliminate the income tax, number one. Number two, I wanted to have coherent energy policy for the state of Ohio. Number three, I wanted to make sure that people weren't persecuted or prosecuted on the public square for their faith in the Almighty. And number four, I wanted to help lift people up and write their own story here in the state of Ohio, get them up and out of government programs and out of poverty here in our state. And there's one man in this race that shares those same values and shares those same goals. He's an outsider. He's a businessman. He's an extremely successful entrepreneur. He is a man with a heart and an intellect to be able to lead this state into the 21st century. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the next governor of the state of Ohio, Vivek Ramaswamy. Thank you, my friend.
Great job today, man.
I'm glad you're here.
Thank you. I love that.
Yep.
I love that.
Yep.
And the civics, we're going to do this together. Thank you. Give that man a round of applause. He's going to be a legendary Secretary of State. Thank you. Thank you, Robert. And Rodney, I want to thank you for being one of our very first endorsers along with Robert at the start of the race, but you didn't tell me at the time that you supported me that you came with the whole clan of Creeches. You know, Creech Creek, they call it around here, but it's great. One of the early things he told me is we had to make it out to Preble County, and it's an honor to be here, my friend. And Jason, thank you for being here representing the Carpenters Union. We've got your back, and I want you to know that our state's best days are actually still ahead of us. And I don't mean that in some kind of fake politician way. I mean it in a true way. A state that honors every one of us who has already been honored in this room, the poll watchers. Thank you, Robert. I appreciated you actually making time and taking the time to appreciate those who aren't often recognized. I just want to take a moment to also recognize the other people who we sometimes forget, but who are responsible for the security of this state, the law enforcement we have in the room. Give these gentlemen a round of applause from the sheriff's office, the state troopers, the police officers in the room, and some of our informal friends from boots-on-the-ground bikers from traveling the state with me. Give those gentlemen and ladies a round of applause as well. I appreciate you guys and your support across this state. It means a lot to me. I was meeting you with a few of you beforehand, and one of you came with a gift. You gave me this letter, a book of letters from Thomas Jefferson. And I thought I would kick off with that. It actually landed with me. I was reading a few of them at the table at the start here. Thomas Jefferson was actually the man who admitted Ohio to the Union. In 1803, we became the only state that was admitted under Thomas Jefferson's watch. It's a subset of the letters. I just got this book about half an hour ago, and It's a subset of the letters that Jefferson wrote over the course of his life. He wrote 16,000 letters in his life. I share that with young people today, and sometimes they'll say, well, you know what, I've kind of done that because it's, number of letters, 4 letters per word. That's like, 40 pages maybe. No, I'm not talking about 16,000 letters of the alphabet. I mean 16,000 full-on letters, outright essays. Right? The guys who founded this country, the guy, in this case, who wrote the Declaration of Independence, they were the pioneers, the explorers, the unafraid. This is the guy who signed the Lewis and Clark expeditions to go out west and keep going west without any bounds. The people who believed that we could achieve more than the government told us was possible in our lives. A guy in this case who spoke 5 different languages. He was fluent in writing, the ability to write at least 3 more. The guy who signed the Declaration of Independence at the age of 33. That was the guy whose book of letters I was given as a gift today. He was the guy who admitted Ohio to the Union. I want to say a word about our state because I'm proud of our state. I was born and raised not far from here. Cincinnati, Ohio is where I grew up. We would spend a lot of time in Houston Woods, so it's nice to come back. It's more beautiful than I remembered it. As a kid, sometimes you don't appreciate it as much. But our state, we were a frontier state before there was a frontier. And I think we live in a special moment in the history of our country right now. But with that comes a responsibility for our state of Ohio. Donald Trump is reviving our conviction in the United States of America every day. I worked my rear end off, I will say, over the course of last year to send him back to the White House because it was a fork in the road for the future of our country. And I'm proud of our nation because in November, you made the right decision for our country in our hour of need by re-electing what I believe is the greatest president of the 21st century. We sent him back to the White House. Thank you for that, Preble County, for what you did in that effort as well. And he's reviving our conviction in America. But what we need here at home is a leader who revives our conviction in Ohio. And that's why last month I declared my candidacy to become the next governor of what I believe is a great state at the heart of the greatest nation known to the history of mankind, the state where I was born and raised, the state where I'm raising my 2 sons today in Columbus, Ohio. I was with them before I drove here. I'll be with them, at least the older one will probably be still awake before I put him to bed tonight. That's why I'm in this, is I want our kids to grow up in the same state, no, greater state than the one we grew up in. That's why I'm running to be the next governor of our state of Ohio. I don't want us to just be one of the better states in the Midwest. I want to lead our state to be the top state in the country that sets a national standard for Texas and Florida to aspire to raise a young family, to get a new job, to be able to grow a new business, generate wealth, and to keep that wealth. To give our kids, we were talking about this, a world-class education in math and reading and writing and critical thinking. So we can teach them to compete in a competitive global economy, not as victims, but as victors through success, through embracing capitalism and meritocracy, slashing and burning the government bureaucracy and overreach and regulation that holds us back. I want us to be the state that leads in the sectors of the future, from aerospace to AI to semiconductor production. I want us to be the state. Robert, you talked about it. You put your finger on the most important problem that our state faces is our declining population. I'll come back to that. But I want us to be the state that people flock to, not just Florida and Texas, but right here to the state of Ohio. And there are those who will tell me when I started running in this campaign with the vision to put Ohio back to number 1, where we were a few years after Thomas Jefferson admitted us to the Union. We were that state. That's what I remind people when they say they're skeptical of Ohio's ability to lead the country. I'll tell you, it wasn't long ago that we weren't a state that people were laughing at. We were the state that people were aspiring to be. We got a group of young men from Miami University right here sitting at the table. They would know what I'm talking about here. In Gen Z on the internet right now, especially over the last couple of years, there's a meme. If something's a little bit old or out of touch, they say, only in Ohio. It's like a meme on the internet. It actually irritates me, to be honest with you. It wasn't long ago people weren't laughing at Ohio. They were aspiring to be Ohio. At the turn of the last century, we were the wealthiest state in the Union, the 3rd most populous state in America, an economic powerhouse at the heart of the country. fertile farmland, great natural resources underneath our own ground, led the way in the first industrial revolution. Even in the 1950s, that wasn't that long ago, 6 of the top 15 wealthiest cities in America were right here at home in Ohio. Toledo was the glass capital of the world. Akron was the rubber capital. Youngstown and Cleveland were jointly the steel capitals of the world. Dayton, not far from where we are right now, was the computing power engine that powered the whole industrial revolution. My hometown of Cincinnati, which sadly I did get the news that the Reds lost the game. We were ahead when I came over. I'm sorry, a couple of us. We were checking it, but tonight, that's all right. In every victory, it hardens you, it makes you stronger. Right? Cincinnati, we used to be called the Queen City around the world. Consumer products haven. Porkopolis was our name. We powered the national food supply chain. That was us. That was us in Ohio, the pioneers, the explorers that our founding fathers were. That's who we were in the state of Ohio. The state of Neil Armstrong and John Glenn, who became the first man to walk on the moon, the first American to enter orbit around the earth. The Wright brothers, not far from where we are right now, took flight with the self-confidence to say, hey, we see these cars driving around. That's all right. We're going to imagine these airplanes that fly in the sky, and we're going to be the guys who do it. I'm going to be the man who walks on the moon, as Neil Armstrong. That's the self-confidence that the kids who grew up in this state had for most of our history. We were the state of excellence in the United States of America. And you know what? We can be that state again, because if you think about it, we have the same God-given gifts we did back then. The same fertile farmland, the same natural resources, including oil and gas and coal. I don't believe that's a bad word, right underneath our own ground in this state. The same great geographic position that we have, the Erie Canal to New York City, the Ohio River to the Mississippi. 60% of North America's population, not America's, North America's population, within a single day's drive of where we're sitting right now. God has blessed our state with every gift we could wish for to be the state that leads America back to greatness. All we have to do is to start believing in ourselves again to actually do it. Now, we are in the middle of a second industrial revolution right now. There's an opportunity sitting right in front of us. If Silicon Valley led the way in the American economy for the last 10 years, I'm here to make sure it's going to be the Ohio River Valley for the next 10 years. All right, it may not be the sectors of the past. It may not be rubber production next time around. But it's out with, I don't want to hear the talk of the Rust Belt anymore. We're done with that. Out with the Rust Belt, in with the Platinum Belt. We are leading Ohio and leading America back to greatness in the sectors of the future. From nuclear energy to oil and gas, I believe those two are sectors of the future, to semiconductor production, to Bitcoin, to biotech, to our defense industrial base. The state where we use AI not to take jobs, but to make jobs through workforce training and education. That's where I'm going to lead our state. This is a time, this is our modern day Northwest Ordinance. That's the moment we live in. It's a 1776 kind of moment in America. It's a Northwest Ordinance moment right here in the state of Ohio. We're going to believe in ourselves and revive that confidence. We're a conservative state. All right, make no mistake about it. Our electorate, we have a conservative electorate in Ohio. And frankly, Rodney Creech knows this, Senator Huffman knows this, we have a conservative legislature, by and large. What we've been missing, I believe, is conservative leadership to drive a conservative agenda through our state in a consistent way. And you have my word, both of you and your colleagues in the legislature. As a governor, we will no longer be a state where our legislature is more conservative than our chief executive. We're a conservative state. We deserve to be governed like one. The fear is that's going to lose us elections. But no, I don't look at it that way. That's actually going to win us elections because it's going to put more money in your pocket, because it's going to lift up more people from poverty, because it's going to revive that missing self-confidence in our kids so we regain that civic pride and conviction that Robert just talked about in our young people, so that we become the haven that patriots across this country, from New York to California, and yes, there are patriots in both those states who share our values, who are looking for places to go, and also from Florida and Texas, who we repatriate back to our state, including the kids who have left this state, bring them back right home to Ohio to lead our state back to greatness. And I believe right now, there's a time and place for different kinds of leaders. But right now, I think that requires a leader from the next generation with fresh legs who isn't encumbered by the quibbling of yesterday's politics to lead us there, to run through any obstacle that stands in the way. And we do require some changes in our state to get there. We're going to make those changes. Robert talked about one of them. He and I talked about this at the time I was declaring for governor, and thank you for your support since day one, my man. I appreciate that. We're going to make Ohio a zero-income tax state because you deserve to keep what you earn. It is your money, not the government's, and we're going to use that to attract more people into our state. There's 8 other states that are doing it. We all know people. I've got a neighbor sitting 6 months in a day in Florida. She doesn't even like it there. She just goes and sits there for it's not the weather, it's the taxes, right? Let's just say it like it is. We're going to bring those people back home to the state of Ohio, and we're going to bring down our property taxes while we're at it. The property taxes have gotten way too high in this state. It's unjust. It's unjust. It doesn't make any sense where if you're paying as much on your principal and interest payments on your mortgage as you are on your property taxes, it no longer feels like you actually even own the land you actually own. It starts to feel like a lease from the government. That's un-American. It's antithetical to our values here in Ohio. So I want to be the state that takes the tax policies, the regulatory policies. For every new regulation they try to put up on my watch, I will require they rescind at least 10 others to even have a chance of passing it. So that we can be the state where we build. We build houses, build more houses, and bring down housing costs. The state where you can build a small business, build a startup, build a manufacturing plant, build wealth, build a family, build a life in the mold of the American dream. The idea that if you work hard and play by the rules, you get to have a good life in this country with honor and with dignity. It's not just about green pieces of paper. It's about the ability to realize your purpose as a citizen with conviction in who you are as a citizen of this nation, the greatest nation known to the history of man. So we'll be the state that then leads the way through manufacturing dominance, AI dominance, energy dominance. This isn't just about pumping up our GDP numbers, okay? This is about a vital improvement to our economic and social fabric as a state. So we're no longer a state where Little League teams have to shut down because they can't find a local company to sponsor them anymore. Where a mom doesn't have to think twice before having that second or third or fourth kid for fear of the cost of a bigger car or a new stroller. A state where every parent has that bone-deep conviction they deserve to have that their kids will go on to live an even better life than they did. That's what the American dream is about. Now, in order to get there, there's one topic I want to address tonight. This is near and dear to my heart. Where, frankly, leaders in both parties, I believe, have been asleep at the switch. And that is the educational achievement crisis in the United States of America. This isn't just a passive, this isn't an option anymore. It's a 5-alarm fire across the country. 75% of 8th graders right now are not proficient in math. Kids in China are on average 4 full grades ahead of an average kid here in the United States. A 7th grader here is at the same academic level of performance as a 3rd grader in China. That's unacceptable. And I think I speak for everyone in this room when I say I refuse to stand by and watch as China laughs at our gradual decay into oblivion. No, we're going to turn this ship around, starting right here in Ohio. And as your next governor, I pledge you this. I will lead Ohio to be the top state in the country and in the world to give our kids a world-class education in math, reading, writing, critical thinking, civic education, physical education, and financial literacy. We're not going to stop until we get the job done. Set the Ohio standard for the rest of America to follow. There's a lot of ways we're going to do this. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's time to leave a legacy for the rest of the country to follow. There's a lot we need to do. I mean, I think take the dedicated base of law enforcement. We need 1 police officer in every school. Keep our kids safe. We need to make sure our kids show up to school. I promise you this, never again will we in the state bend the knee to an Anthony Fauci knockoff who let our public schools shut down while they managed to keep the private schools open. There's a chronic absenteeism problem Ever since that, many of those kids have never gotten back to school. So we're going to do the basics. But there's one thing we're going to do that no other state in the country has done, and I guarantee you every other state in the country is going to do it after we do it here in Ohio. We're going to pay teachers for performance. The best teachers in our public schools deserve to be paid a lot more than they are right now. I'm a product of public education. I'm proud of that. Went to Princeton schools through 8th grade. And if I want Ohio to be the cradle of the American dream, and we all agree that teachers are the front lines of educating that next generation of children, we got to ask ourselves, is it possible in the year 2025 to live the American dream as a public school teacher on a salary of under $45,000 as a starting salary? I don't think the answer to that question is yes. I think it's probably no, certainly if you have kids in the household. We're going to turn that around, but the way we're going to do it is we're going to do it based on merit-based pay, merit-based performance, where the best teachers are rewarded far more than they are right now. But a lot of the dead weight waste, frankly, the schools where we're spending the most money are actually the ones where the students are performing the worst. We got to fix that and do this according to merit. We're going to be the first state in the country that sets this right. And then you can get the right policies in the school, get the cell phones out of the classroom, bring back physical education at a young age, bring back the presidential fitness test. We're going to do that in this state, including the pull-ups, all right? I did mine again this morning, and that's all right. Even if everyone can't do them, that's okay. It sets a standard to aspire to. Robert and I are going to work on this together. Every high school senior who graduates from an Ohio public high school is going to have to pass the same civics test that every legal immigrant has to pass before they become a naturalized citizen. Because you got to know something about a country before you love that country. You ought to know who signed the Declaration of Independence. It's Thomas Jefferson. You got to know one thing Benjamin Franklin did. How many branches of government are there? Which one does the U.S. president lead? We have to raise not just a generation of idle people who take things for granted in a participation trophy culture, but citizens of a nation that you know something about and that you're proud of. That's what we're going to cultivate here in our own state of Ohio. And I understand that my path can't be the only path. I'm grateful. I've lived the American dream in a way that my parents would have never imagined when they came here with no money 45 years ago. But my path went through 4-year college education. My path can't be the only path either. We're going to also make sure that our state is the top state in the country for every son and daughter of Ohio who wants to become a welder or a mechanic or a carpenter or an electrician or a plumber or a builder to also have their path to the American dream without saddling themselves with 4-year college debt. Bring in the Earn While You Learn programs as early as high school, where a 10th grader, an 11th grader, a 12th grader can build those skills and put money in their pocket and learn and get a taste of what American capitalism is all about in the best of ways. So they're not spiteful to somebody else's success when they generate wealth because they have skin in the game and they're participating in it instead. That's my message to every son and daughter of Ohio, my 2 sons and their generation, every son and daughter of the people in this room, is that Ohio is the state where the American dream is your birthright. A world-class education is your birthright. Success is your birthright. Freedom is your heritage, and excellence is your destiny. That is who we are. This isn't a small vision for our state. I'll grant you that. It is an ambitious vision. But I believe that's who we really are as Ohioans and as Americans. We're not victims. We're victors. We don't whine. We win. That's who we are. It's who we've always been. When we rallied behind the cry to make America great again, we hungered for the unapologetic pursuit of excellence in this country. That's what Donald Trump's bringing back at the federal level. It is what we deserve right here in Ohio, a state that led America to be great the first time around. I'm not doing this alone. I'm doing it with all of you. It's not one man coming from the White House, and it's not one man coming from the governor's mansion to save us. If we are going to be saved, it is going to be because we all step up and save ourselves. Every one of us has our own role to play. And I'll close with this. I want to ask every one of you tonight, when you go home, to look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, what is your unique God-given gift? And I'll promise you this, every one of you has one. Every one of us has our own unique God-given gift, different from every other person in the world. And we are the nation where you get to achieve the maximum of your own God-given potential without any government or bureaucracy or system standing in your way. That's what the true American dream is about. That's what a true meritocracy is about. Saving this country isn't somebody else's job. It is every one of our job. You're here because you care about this country. You don't have to be here tonight. You could be at the Reds game. That's where I would have been if I wasn't here tonight either. We're here for a reason. Because we believe we have a responsibility, a duty to not only save our nation, but to save our nation by saving our state and leading us there. Show the rest of the country what is possible by doing it right here in Ohio. So you know what? So 10 years from now, when I'm leaving my office as governor after 2 terms, you know what they're going to say? When we're sending manned rockets to Mars, when we're curing previously incurable forms of genetic diseases, when we're powering our electric grid with the energy of the future, you know what the meme on the internet's going to be then? Only in Ohio. We don't have to be a state in decline. We're on our way up, and our best days are still yet ahead of us. Thank you for coming out today, guys. God bless you and your families, and may God bless our great state of Ohio. Keep fighting. Fight, fight, fight. This state is worth fighting for, and we will save it with your help. Thank you, guys. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, and the party, we have a couple gifts for you.
Thank
for
you.
being here.
Thank you.
We do have a local winery in town.
Oh, nice.
In Eaton. In fact,
I think I heard it.
the
Yeah,
owners
exactly.
Are here.
We met him.
Yes.
Thank you.
And then also, I don't know if everybody knows what April 18th next month is. It is the 250th anniversary of Paul Revere's ride. So if you ever go to Boston and you go to Paul Revere's shop and you want a Paul Revere lantern, well, let me tell you, it's made in Ohio, right here at Brubaker Mill.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Can I
you.
say one thing, too?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for these gifts. I just want to say one thing before I go. There's one group of people we didn't stop to thank today, which I'd like to do. Just remain standing in the room if you are a veteran who has served this country. Okay? For those of you who are veterans, I want you to remain standing in the room. Give these men and women a round of applause for me. And as you gave me these gifts, it feels like it's my birthday. But that's what reminded me of it, because there's one special one of those veterans who I want to thank, who I met beforehand. Clay, I'd like you to stay standing in the back there. It's Clay's birthday 2 days from now. He's turning 49, he told me, and you know what? He served this country for 22 years in the U.S. Army, and Clay, I want you to have a happy birthday. You deserve it. We've got your back, all right? Preble County, wish him a happy birthday. Thank you. Thank you, my man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All righty.
Thank
You
you.
wanna put that
Thank
back?